Hello friend, how are you? Welcome to Tripan Study Center. Today we are doing most important chapter of history. What is the topic today? The administrative system and institution chapter. The first point is the most important here. When the Qutbuddin Aibak established himself as an independent sultan at the Lahore, there is available of the administrative apparatus was continually in their initial of phase. The prevalence of the structure was not altered to the distribute and as along. As the local rulers is recognized, there is a supremacy of the Sultan in Delhi. There is allowed to be collect to the taxes and send it to their center to shore as the tribute. The center officially in this area where it mainly to be helped the local rulers in their administrative task. With the expansion and is a consolidations of the Delhi Sultanate and a new administrative institution also started to emerging. The administrative structure and institution introduced in India were influenced by the Mongols and Seljukids, etc., and both by the naval rulers. There's a new rulers here. The exciting the administrative institution in the different part of the country also contribute in giving shape to the new system. There is a most important here evolution of the administrative structure under Delhi Sultanate. There is a most important here. The sultans were aware of fact that they had to rule over a subject, a population that was largely non-Islamic. Thus, the Sultan of Delhi had to be introduced a particular measure to suit and the prevalence of condition in the Sultanate. And from the administrative point of the view, their local level administration and it is seen was left mainly in the hand of the village headman and etc. There is a large extent of Sultanate is necessitated to the evolution of the administrative structure and separate from the center and province. Thus, during the Sultanate periods, the administrative institution emerged at a different level, center and provisional and the local. Let us now to examine various components of the administrative system in detail. The next is the most important topic here, administrative system. There is a most important here, administrative system of their system of institution. And here, during the Sultanate period of administrative apparatus was headed by the Sultan, who was helped with the various nobles, and there is a various other office is along with their office of the Sultan. And theoretically, there was a consular of the minister is a Majlis as a Kulawat as assist the Sultan. There is a most important here, the minister assists the Sultan. The first here point is according to their administrative system, the Sultan. The Sultan is the most important point here. The most important here, the Sultan. The Sultan was the center figure in the administrative setup. There is the most important here. The Sultan was the center figure in the administrative setup, and he was the head of the civil administration and supreme commander of army. He made all the appointment and promotions, and he also had the right to remove anybody for the service. There is the most important job here, and he had the absolute to power in the hand, and he was also the head of the judiciary. There is the most important here, and he used to be a confer title and honors upon the people. Theoretically, the Sultan had on the accelerated to the opposition, but is actually a practice difference Sultan enjoyed to the varying power. The position of the Sultan was the way under pressure from the powerful group of nobility and the Ulema. Sultan of Delhi, a particularly their powerful Sultan, adopted to various strategies to keep these groups under to the control. The Balban keep to the noble formally under to his control. Thus, the personality of the Sultan is a play a significant role in the administrative structure of the Sultanate. Under to the capable and a strong sultan, there is administration as there is the administrative structure of functioning well, but under to the influence and the big ruler the same and was under to the pressure. The next here is a part of the administrative is the nobility. The noble where is the most important functionary of the state and enjoy the high social status. In the initial stage, and there is a those is a commander who come in their victorious army. Over a period of time, there are descendant formed their main strength and some Indian group also emerged. The position and the power of the nobility is varied from time to time as has been to be mentioned above. The nobles are particularly those who were to base at a Delhi emerge as a very powerful group and at a time even play a role in the section of the Sultan. The nobility was not a homogeneous class, where a different group within the nobility and often there were in enter group of clashes and the rivalries. There are clashes between the Turkish and the Tajik nobles started during the time of Iltutmish and become intense after his death. The group of is a Chalanga, a group of 40 nobles, which is created by the Iltutmish and also emerged very powerful. The Balban was the first sultan to bring the nobility formally under to control. Interestingly, there has had been to be part of the is the Chalas gone earlier, and the Kutubuddin Aibak and the Iltutmish has a considered to the noble at the par with himself, but Balban there is a maintained to distance from the nobility and enforce it to the strict code of the conduct for himself and for the nobility. No laws talk about the laughter was allowed in the court. There is the most important provision here, and also the emphasis on the high blood and made it is a criteria for the occupying to the high position and office. With the extension of the Delhi Sultanate, there also is an attempt on the part of the different section of the society to join to nobility. Initially, it was the preserve of there is a Turk only. During the ruler of the Khalji and Tughlaqs, their doors of the nobility were is open to the people of the devils to the backgrounds. The low caste system, the both Hindus and the Muslim joined the nobility and as could be rise to the high position, especially under to the Muhammad bin Tughlaq. There is the most important here. And during the Lodi period, there is Afghan concept of the equality of become an improvement when the Sultan was a considered first among equal. There is the most important point here. The first among equal, there is time of Sultan of the Afghan is the Lodi period. Thus, the noble enjoyed the equal status with the Sultan. Some of the Lodi Sultan, like a Sikandar Lodi and Ibrahim Lodi, found his uncomfortable and tried to wearing to the nobles under their control. The noble resisted with his resulting in the trouble for the both the sultans. The next is administrative is the most important here, Ulema. The Ulema is the most important and third part. The religious is and actually is a group of Muslim was a collective referred as a Ulema. The people of this group is a managed to the religious matter and interpret a religious regulation for the Sultan. And there were also is in charge of the judicially matter and work as a causes at the various level. It was a quite influential group and commanded respected of the Sultan and nobilities. And they also had influence among to the Muslim masses. This group used to the pressurize the Sultan to run the Sultanate as per the religious law of the Islam. The Sultan and nobles generally try to run the administrative affair as per the need of the state rather than to the religious law. Sultan like Alauddin Khalji is could be ignored the opinion of Ulema on the number of issue, but some is a follow their line. There is the most important part here of administrative. Next topic here Central administration. There is the most important here, a central administration, the part of the administrative system and institutional chapter. There is the most important here. And there is already mentioned the administrative system was headed by the Sultan. And there was a number of the department which were to the assigned different responsibility. And this department were to the managed by the influential of novel, and we will be provide a brief account of the few department. The first topic there is according administration here or central administration or Wizarat. The Wizarat here is after the Sultan. Most important office was the Diwan-i-Rasalat is head by the Wazir. The head of here Wazir. Wazir is a recently time is a prime minister. The prime minister is called to the Wazir. It was a key of position in the royal court, and his role was the general is a superior over all departments, and thus was one of the four important department had, and he was the chief advisor of the Sultan. Today time there is the advisor of the president, there is a prime minister of advisor, there is a chief advisor of the Sultan. Who is the or chief advisor of Sultan? There is a Wazir. The main function of the Wazir were to look after the financial organization of the state. There is the most important work here, and give to advice to the Sultan, and one of the occasion to the or lead to military expeditions at the Sultan, and we had he is also surprised to the payment to the army. The Wizarat or the office of the Wazir also keep a check on land review and collection, maintaining a record of the all the income and expenditure, and created by there is a state, and thus a control or recorded the salary of all royal servant, and handled there is the charitables is a donation such as a wolf, ilam, and sector, and further mint of the intelligence and department the royal builds and their body affiliated to the royal court were supervised by the Wizarat, and the Wazir has direct access to the Sultan, and it was on his with thumbs and sanitary and the royalty that is a position of the Sultan dependent to the greatly. There is a several other department which is a work to the under to the is a Wizarat. There is a interested with the specific function, and this include the Mustafi A. Malik means is auditors of general, and the Musarif A is a Mumalik is accountant journal, and Mazamu Dar a keeper of the loan and the balance for the treasure. There is a most important here. There is a part of administrative center, and later some other of office where both is under to the supervisions of the Wizarat, like a Diwan-i Waduruf is to mean to the supervision of expenditure, and Diwan-i Mustaka Raz to took into the area of the revenue of payment, and Diwan-i Amir Kohi to be a wearing to the uncultivated land into the cultivation through state sport. And the next year the Diwan-i-Arz, there is the most important department of center. This department was set up to look after the military organization of the empire. It was headed by the Ariz A. Malik, and he was responsible for the administration of military affairs. He maintained the royal continent and is a recruited their soldier and ensured that a lines and there is a fitness of the army. Inspected there is a troops is maintained by the IQTA holder. Examine there is a horse and the branches them with their royal insignia. And during time of war, the Arz is arranged a military provision and transportation and administer the army at the war, and provided to constant supplies, and was the custom done of a war boot. Botis and Alauddin Khalji introduced the system of dag, branding, and hulia description. There is the most important here. Important to the UPSC exam, there is a Alauddin Khalji introduced the system of Dog is a branding and the Ulia is a description. Alauddin Khalji and cash payment of the soldier in order to strengthen his control over to the army. The continent of the strength at the Delhi was called is Hasanam Iqwal and provisional of the continent where is called Hasanam e Atraf. The next here is the most important here department Diwan-i-Insha. The Diwan-i-Insha is the most important here and this department is looked after the state correspondence. It was headed by the Davir Khas. He is drafted as the deputy to the royal order and received the report from the various officers. The Dawer was the former channels of the communication between the center and other regional of empire, and he was also as a sort of private secretary of the Sultan and was responsible for the written the Fremen. And Farman, there is the most important here. The Baron A. Mulekix was the head of the state new gatherings and dealt with the intelligences there. He had to keep information of all that is happening in the Sultan. And at the local level, there is a bearer is who used to send the regular new is a conveyings their matters. There is a next here, a Diwan-i-Rasalat. There Diwan-i-Rasalat is the most important here, and there is a this department deals with their administration of justice. There is a most important department here, this Salat, and it was headed by Shada Sada, who was also the quasi a Malik. He was the highest religious officer. There is a highest religious officer and took care of the statutory affair. He also is appointed to the Quaza, is a judge, and the approval various is a charitable grant like a work, wazifa, idara, etc. The Sultan was the highest court of the appeal in the both civil and criminal matter. The next to him was the Quasi Malik. There is a Mutasib, is a public censor. An assistant there the judiciary department, and there is a main task was to be seen that there was no public interference of their tent of the Islam. He was also to supervise and enforce the public moral and conduct. The next state is the other department. The other department is the most important other department. Apart from this year, there was a number of small departments at the center which help in the everyday administration of the empire. Vakil Adar is looked after their royals household and manage the personal service of Sultan. Amir Hazi is looked to the after the royal ceremonies, and he used to the act as on the intermediate between the Sultan and the subordinate of the officially, and there is a between Sultan and the public. Share Jandar is a looked after the royal body is a goddess. Amir Akur is a looked after the establishment of the horses, and there are Sana is feel look after the establishment of elephants. Amir Mazil is a looked after their arranged to the meeting the special ceremony. The royal workshop is a Karakhanas is a play on the important role in the administrative system of Sultanate. The need of the royal is a household where made through the Khankhans. There is a Khankhans where to the two types. The manufactories and the storehouse. The manufactories and the storehouse, they are the most important part of the administration. Under the Firoz Tughlaq, and there were also is mainly as a 36 Kharan Khans. The each Kharan Khans was superior by the noble who had to the rank of the Malik and Khan. The Mustafrif is the responsible for the account and accepted as the immediate of supervisor in the various department. There is the most important here. The next topic is the most important here, provisional administration and ecosystem. There is a most important topic here. The administration in the area that were outside the core political area was carried out in the number of ways. It is depend on the degrees of political control which was the exercise over to the areas. The territory expansion and the consolidations of the Sultanate was a process which continually to the throughout the 13th and 14th centuries. Some of the newly is a conquered area were both directly under to control of the Sultanate and some other areas remain semi-autonomous. Thus, the different control of mechanism were adopted by the Sultan for these areas, and the areas that is closely is affiliated there to the Sultanate. A few official and appointed by the center as a symbol of imperial presence, but everyday administration remained in the local hands. The interest of the center in this area was mostly economics and collection of the revenue. Revenues is the most important collection on this period time. The province where is a place under to the charges of the governor who were responsible for the overall administration of the area, and this involved ensuring the collection of the revenue, maintaining law and order and keeping to the rebellious is the element under control. He was a depth of the Sultan in this area, and since they officially were frequently transferred and not familiar with the areas, they were generally is depend on the local officially to perform their duties. The collection of the revenue was not possible without the help of the local officials. Thus, the governors and the local power is a block is work in the close association with each other. At the time, the combination of created problem from the Sultan as the governor used to become a powerful with the help of the provided by the local rulers and rise in the rebellions against the Sultan. During the 14th century, there is a prevalence where to the petition into the Swekas for the administratives is a conventions. The Swekas as were administered by the Sikhodar and subsequently there is got a transfer into the Sarkar and during the Afghan period and Fazudar was another officer along with the Sukedar at their provisional level, and there is a duty are not a clearly and is articulated to and often to the role of the two seem to be overlapped. Thus, the guard is assisted the governors in the maintenance of the law and order and provided to the military assistance. He also supervised the functioning of the small administrative unit. The duty of the Fauzdar were similar to the is a Sukedar and the is a Kotwalas were to place under to the Fauzdar. And other important officer at the provisional level were varied the intelligence officer and reporter and Sahib a Diwan who is maintaining the financial account of the provisional income and expenditure. The next here is a IQTA system. What do you mean to hear a IQTA system? And what understand you a IQTA system? There is a most important question here. The IQTA system, the institution of the IQTA has been to force in an earlier Islamic world as a form of the reward for a service to the state. There is the most important here. IQTA system is their Islamic word as a form of reward for a service to the state. In the Caliphate is administration, it was used to pay a civil and military officer. After the establishment of Sultanate, IQTA system was introduced by the Sultans and to begin with their army commander and the noble where is given territories to the administrators and collection to the revenue. The territories has assigned where is called to the IQTA and there is a holder as a IQTAdar or Mukti. That is the most important here. And in sense, this was system of the payment to be officer and maintenance of army by them. And gradually rulers and regulation were laid down to the organize to the whole system. And through the year it's become the main instrument of administrating the Sultanate. The further Sultan could, could get a large share of the surplus and protection from a different part of the vast territories through this system. From the 14th century, we hear of the Wallace as a Muqtis who are commander of a military and administrative tract is called IQTA. There is understand you? From to the 14th centuries, we hear of the Wallace and is Muqtis who were a commander of military and administrative and Strax is called to the Ekta and there is a exact power is varied is accordingly to be a servantance in due course of the mukti was given to complete charge of administration of the Ekta which is included the task of maintaining an army. The Mukti was to be help the Sultan with his army in a case of need. That is the most important point here. He was expected to maintain the army and meet his own expansion with the revenue collected. From the time of the Balwan, there is a Mukti was expected to send the balance of is a fawazil of the income in the center after the meeting is and the army as expansion. This meant that a center review or department had made as assessment of the expected income of the Ekta, the cost of the maintenance of the army and Mukti as an expense. This process became even more strict during the time of Alauddin Khalji. As the center control graves, there is a control over the Mukti as administration also increase. The Khwaja, probably same is a Sahib a Diwan, was appointed to keep a record of the income of the Ekta. It was on the basis of this record that the Sultan used to be make his revenues or demand. A buried or intelligence officer was also appointed to keep the Sultan informed. During the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, a number of governors were appointed on the revenue sharing and term where they were to give a fixed sum to the state. During the time of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, the control of the states over Ekta was diluted when to the Ektas become a hereditary. There is a most important point here. The next is our most important topic arrive here, a local administration. Here, a local administration, the village was the smallest unit of administration. There is a most important point. The village was the smallest unit of administration. The functioning and administration of the village remained more or less the same as it is exited to the pre-Turkish time. The pre-Turkish time. The main village functionaries were Khut, Mudam and Patwari. The Khut, Mukaddam and Patwari. They is working in the close is a coordination with the Mukti in their collection of the revenue and there is a maintenance is a law and order etc. The revenue is the most important, the maintenance of the law and order. A number of villages form to the Pragana. The important Pragana is officially is a Chaudhary and the mill is a revenue collector and the Karkums is accounts and village are Pragana where is the independent unit of administration and here there is where interrelated area. In the sentence is a case the provenance had to the local rulers is the Rai, Rana, Rawat, Raja, who is a help to the governor in his the duties. In such a case, the local rulers were recognized as a subordinate of the Sultan. The next topic is most important here, a market reform and the Alauddin Khalji. There is a most important market reform of Alauddin Khalji. The market reform of Alauddin Khalji were originated to about to the administrative and military is a necessities, and materials is a ruler believe that is a necessity of life, especially food grain, should be available to the city folk at the responsible price. But few rulers has been able to control the prices for any length of time. Alauddin Khalji was a more or less the first ruler who looked at the problem of price control in a systematic is a manner and was able to the maintain the stable price for the considerable period. There is a most important here the problem of the price control in a systematic manner and able to maintain a stable price of the considerable period. It has been to the pointed on the Alauddin Khalji instituted their market control become after the Mongols is of Delhi. He went to the rescued a large army. All his treasures is would be have to soon escalate if he was to be expend her resource on army. With the low price of the Sultan, there is could be a rescued a large army is a low expense is a whatever is maybe a reason for the market reform and elaborate to the administrative arrangement where to the made to the ensure that a market control was following strictly. Allow the is to fix the price of the commodities from the grain to the cloth, slabs, cattle, etc. That is the most important. And he also set up three market at Delhi. The first for the food grain, and second for the cloth of all kind and expensive items such as sugar, ghee, oil, dry food, etc. And the third for the horse, slave, and cattle. For controlling the food price, allow them try to control not only the supply of food grain for the villages and is a transportation to the cities by the grain is a merchant, but also it is a proper distribution to the citizen. A number of measures were taken to be see that price led down by the Sultan, where is strictly there is observed. As the officer, Sehna was charged for the market to see that no one is volatile, there is a royal order. The where there is an intelligence officer and Munahiya is a secret spies and where also they are appointed. And Alauddin also is tried to be ensured that there was a sufficient stock of food grain with the government so that the traders did not be hike up the price of the creating or artificial scarcities or the ills and preferrings. The granaries were to set up to the Delhi and the Chains Rajasthan, the Banjaras and the Karavanias who is transported the food grain from a countryside of the city were asked for from to himself in a body. And there is a settle on there is the bank of the Yamuna with their family. On the official year, Senana was the appointment to the absorb them. To ensure the regular supply of food grain to be Banjaras as a number of regulations were made. All the food grain were to be both to be a market is a mandis and sold only at the official price. The second is the market of the cloth, dry fruit and ghee etc. was called Israel Adal. All there is a cloth, both there is a different part of the country and also from outside the where to be stored and sold only in their market at a government rate. The ensure and the adequate supply of the commodities, all the merchants were registered and are did taken from to them that there would be a drive varying to the specified to the quantities of the commodities to be sell a adal every year. The merchant who is both a commodities from a long distance, including foreign countries, were given to the advance money on their condition that there is would be not to sell to any intermediaries and in case of the costly commodities is officer an officer is was to be issue the permit of the Amir Malik etc. And for the purchases of the expensive of commodities in the accordance with their income and this was done by the prevent any black marketing of this expensive product. The third market is a gillette of the horse, is a cattle and slave. The supply of the horse of good quality at a fair price was important for the army and allowed them to away with their middleman of the dalal, who had become very powerful. It was decided that the government fixed quality and price of the horses. Similarly, the price of slave boy and girl and the cattle were also fixed. But this reform did not be last long, and after death of the Alauddin, this reform has got lost. That is the most important. Next topic is the most important here, administrative structure under the Mughals. There is the most important here, administrative structure under the Mughals Empire. The Mughal is restrained to the many features of the administrative system of the Sultanate and Sher Shah, and there's under the Sher Shah is the administrative unit of Pragan, a group of villages. Sarkar, a group of Pragans and group of Sarkars, some that what like a subs or province, were placed under the specific office. The Mughals is a formalized or new territorial units called Suba. Suba is the most important here. An institution of the Jagir and the Man subsystem were also introduced by their Mughals. Thus, the change and communities is a both market and Mughal administrative structure, which is both about their a high degree of centralization in the system. The next era center administration. There is the according to the Mughal Empire, the center administration. The empire was the supreme head of the administration and control all the militaries, judicially power. All the officer of Mughals, it is the administration of when there is a power and position of the empire. The emperor has authorities of appoint, is a promote and remove the officially at the pleasure. There was no pleasure institutional and otherwise on the empire, and there is smooth of functioning of the empire of few departments were created. There is the most important here, and the next here, Wakils and Wazir. The institution of the Wizarat is a sign, both were used to the interchangeable. Was present in a some form during to the Delhi Sultanate also. The position of the Wazir had lost his preeminent position during the period of Afghan rulers in the Delhi Sultanate. The position of the Wazir was reviewed under to the Mughals. The Babar and the Humayus is the Wazir enjoyed to the great power. The period of there is the during the is a Bahram Khan. Bahram Khan is the 1556 to 60 was a regent of the Akbar. Say the rise of the Walik's Wazir with the united to the power. Akbar, his the determinations of the curb, the power of Wazir later on the took away the financial power from him. And this was a big jolt to the Wazir as a power. That is the most important. And the next year, Diwan-i-Kul. Diwan-i-Kul was the chief Diwan. He was responsible for the revenue and finance. Akbar has the strengthness of the office of a Diwan by interested think there is a revenue power to be a Diwan. The Diwan used to impact all the transactions and payment in all department and superviews of the provisional of Diwan. The entry of the revenue is collection and expenditure of their empire was under his charge. The Diwan were to be report about the state finance to be empire on the daily basis. The next head is a Mir Bakshi. Mir Bakshi is the most important here, and Mir Bakshi is looked after all the matter is pertaining to be a military administration. The order of the appointment of the Mansabdar, and there is a salary is a paper where is the endorsed and the passes by him. He keep a strict watch over to proper maintenance of the centenary to the size of our army is a contingent, and the war is equipped by their Mansabdars. The new entrants and the seeking service were to the presenting to the empire by the Mir Baksis. There is the most important. And the next year, the Sadar as Sudair. There is the most important position here. The Sadar as Sudair was the head of the Ecclesiastics department. His chief duty was to protect the law of the Shariat. There is the most important here work. The office of the Sadar is used to distribute the allowance and the stipend to be eligible person and religious institution. It's made his the office very easily creatives and during the first 25 years of Akbar has resigned. The promulgation of the Mahazar in the 1580, the 1580 instructed his the authorities. According to the Mahazar, Akbar as a view was the prevalence in the case of the confessing's view among religious scholars. This officer also is regulate the matter of the revenue of free grant give to the religious and charitable is a purpose. Later service is a instructions were to the place on the authorities of the Sadar for awarded to the revenue free grant also. The Mutasib is a censor of public moral. There is the most important is here. Mutasib is a censor of public morals where to the appointment to the ensure the generally observance of the rules of morality. He also used to examine to the weight and measuring and the enforce fair of price etc. The next year, the Mughal court, there is the Mir Saman. The Mir Saman was the officer in charge of the royal Karakan. Karakhana was responsible for all kind of purchase and there are storage for the royal household. He was also is a supervised to the manufacturing of different articles for the use of royal household. There is the most important here, a position of Mir Saman. There is the most important. The next topic is the most important here, are provisional administration according to the Mughal Empire. There is the most important here, a provisional administration. The Mughal Empire was divided into the 12 provinces of the Subas by the Akbar. And this were Allahabad, Agra, Abad, Ajmer, Ahmedabad, Bihar, Bengal, Delhi, Kabul, Lahore, Malwa and Multan. Later on, the Ahmednagar and Berar of the is a Khandesh were to added. There is a three here. Suba is added. Ahmednagar, Berara, and the Khandesh. With the expansion of the Mughal Empire, number of provinces increased to 20. The each Suba was the place under a Subedar or provisionally his governor, who was directly appointed by the empire. And the Subedar was the head of the province and they are responsible for the maintenance of general law and order. He was to encourage the agriculture, trade and commerce and there take a step to the enhance there is the revenue of the state. He was also to the suppress to the rebellions and provided to the army for expedition. The head of the revenue is a department in the Suba was the Diwan. He was appointed by the empire and was the independent officer. He was to the superiors to the revenue is collection in the Suba and maintenance account of all the expenditure. He was also as expected to the increasing the area under cultivation. In many cases, our advantage loan is a taku abis were to give it to the peasant to throw his office. The Baksi in the province of performed the same function as the performed by the Mir Baksi at the center. He was appointed by the imperial court at the recommendation of the Mir Baksi. He was responsible for the checking and inspecting there is a horse and soldier is maintained by the Mansabadar in the Suba. He issued the pay bills of the both the Mansabadar and the soldier. Often his office was combined with the Vakkunadar in there is a capacity his duty was to inform to the center about the happening in the province. The representative of the center Sadar used Sudhir at the provisional or label was the called Sadar. He was responsible for the welfare of those who were engaged in the religious activity and the learning. He also looked after the judiciary department and that capacity of supervised at the work of the Qazis. There is some other officer is also is who is appointed as the provisional label. Is the Daroga is a dog as responsible for the maintaining the communication channel, and he used to pass on the letter to the court through the postal runners is a wards and Bakana which both there is the acquires where the appointment to the provide to the report directly to the employer. There is the most important system here. Next topic is the most important here, a local administration of the Mughal Empire. There is the most important topic here. The province and the subas were divided into the sarkars. The sarkar were divided into the paragan. There is the most important here. Suba were divided into the sarkar divided into the paragan. Their village was the smallest unit of administration. That is the most important. At the level of sarkar, were two important functionary, the Fizadar and there is a Amal Zugzar. There is a Fizadar and the appointment by the imperial's order. And sometime within a sarkar, a number of Fizadar existed. At times, there is a judications spread over to the two sarkars, even if this is a belong to the two different subas. Fizadaris was the administrative division, whereas to the sarkars was a territorial and revenue division. The primary duty of the Fauzdar was to a safeguard to the life and property of the residential of areas under the judication, and this was to take care of the law and order problem in this area and assist in the timely collection of the revenue whenever force and was required. That is the most important here. Damasdar as the mayor was their revenue collector. His duty was to assess and supervise the revenue collection. He was expected to increase the land under cultivation and induce the peasant to the pay of revenue of the billings. He used to maintenance all the account and send the daily receipt as the expenditure report of the provisional divan. At the level of Pragan, the Sukdakar was their executive officer. There is the most important executive officer and assists their Amil in the tasks of the revenue collection. The Amil is look after the revenue collection at their Paragan level. The Kwamanugos keep all their record of the land in the Paragan. The Kotawalas were appointed mainly in the towns by the imperial government and were in charge of the law and order. He was the maintenance of register for the keeping record of the people coming and going out of the town. The Muqaddam was the village head and man and the Patwari looked after the village revenue record, and the service of the Zamindar were utilized of the maintenance of the law order in their areas as well as in their collection of the revenue. The forts where is a place under to the officially called to the Quidar. He is in charge of the general administration of the fort and the area of sign in the Jagir to him. The next important topic arrive here a Mughal administrative institution. There is a most important topic of Mansab system. The Mansab system is the most important here of Mughal Empire. The Mansab or Jagir system under the Mughals in the India involved through their time to the Mansabdari was a unique system or device by their Mughal in India. The Mansabdari system is involved the Akbar with the trend of change and the modification was the basis of the civil and military administration under the Mughals. The word is Mansab is mean a place or position. The Mansab is awarded to be individually. There are fixed both his status in the officially his chases and also his salary. It is also fixed the number of army his tenure. There is a holders of the Mansab was maintained. The system was formulated to the streamlines is a rank of their nobles, fix their salary and specify their number of salary to be maintained by them. Under the Mansab systems, rank were expressed in the is a numerical term. Abdul Fazl state the Akbar has established 66 grades of the Mansabdar is ranging from the commander of the 10 is a horseman to the 10,000 horsemen through by the 33 grades. How has been to the mentioned by him. Initially, is a single number of represented the rank personal play on the size of the consent of the Mansardar. Later, the rank of the Mansardar come to be denoted by the two number, the Jat and Sober. The Jat is donated to the personal rank of the officially and Sober is indicated the size of the contingent of maintained by the Mansardars. And depending on the strength of the contingent is a Mansardar where is a place in the three categories. Let's take up the example of the Mansardar who is had a rank of the 7,000 Zat and 7,000 Sovar. Their mean to the 7,000 upon 7,000. In the first Zat and Sovar's rank were equal to 7,000 upon 7,000. In the second, Sovar rank was the lower than of Jat but stopped it half or 50% of the rank is a 7,000 to the 4,000. In the third is our rank was lower than the 50% of the Jat rank. Their mean to the 7,000 upon 3,000. Thus the Swadar is the most important rank was either equal to the less than the Jat. Even if the Swadar rank is the higher, there is a Mansardar is a position in the official hierarchies and will be not be affected. It will be decided by the Jat rank. And for example, a Mansardar with the 4,000 Zat and 2,000 Sovar was the higher rank than to the Mansardar of 3,000 Zat and 3,000 Sovar. There is the most important here. But there were expansion to be a ruler, particularly when to the Mansardar was served to the difficulty turn at the midst of the rebel, and in case of their state often to increasing the Sardar rank without alerting to the Jat rank. Sometimes Sardar rank was also increasing for a temporary period to be meet a emergency situation. The Jagir introduced a new provision in the Sardar rank. According to it, part of the Sardar rank was a term due a sopa C in case of selected Mansardar. For this, a part of additional payment at the same rate of 8,000 dams per square was the sanctioned, and thus this square rank is a 4,000 out of which a 1,000 was a dual asapa. C Pasa is salary for his the square was the calculated as a 3,000 into 8,000 plus is a 1,000 into 8,000 into 2 is equal to the 4 crore. Damn, that is the most important here. And without do pass or C pass is a salary for the 4,000. So it would be up to the stood at the 4,000 into 8,000. There is a mean to is equal to the 3 crore 20 lakh dam. That is the most important, and thus the Mansardar was the maintaining double number of the square from the dual asap to seal asap is category and is the paid for it. Zagidar probably introduced this provision to the promote to the nobles of the confidence and strengthness of the militaries. By the provision by could be increasing the military strength of his noble without affecting any change in their Jat rank. Any increase in there is a Jat rank would be not be only have led to be a jealousy among other nobles but also is additionally is a burden on the treasurer. Shah introduced the month scale in the Mansardari system to be is a compensate. There is a gap between the Jama estimated to income and Hazil is actually realizations. The Mansardar is very generally paid through the revenue is assignment Jagir. The biggest problem was that calculation was made on the basis of the expected income. Izama for the Jagir during the 1 year. It was noticed that actually revenue collection of the Hasil away field. And short of the estimate income in such a situation, the Mansardar as salaries were fixed by the method or called to the month scale. Thus, if a Jagir yielded to only half of the Zama, it was called to the Sama Mahal is a 6 monthly. Shahsamaha is the 6 monthly. If it is yarded only on 1/4, it was called to the Sihamaha is a 3 month. Is a Sihamaha. There are 3 months, and the month is a scale was applied to the cash salary also. There was a is a dedications from to the centration play also, and during the resign of the Shahjahan there is a Mansobadar where is allowed to maintain it to the 1/5 to 1/3 of the centration extent of the so they rank without any accompanied reduction in their claim on the maintenance amount of the soever rank. And the same is a continue with the, all this is a change the create an additionally rank is called Masurut is additionally. This was the attempt to the increasing the soil rank of their Mansodar temporarily. And the same is added one another dedications called to the Kurak Rak A is a Dawab is a to about to meeting the cost of feed of animal in the temporary stable. The next year, a Jagir system. The system of the assignment of the revenue of particular territory to be noble for their service to the state continue under to the Mughal also. Under the Mughals, the area assigned where is a generally is called Jagir, and it is a holder of Jagidar. The Jagidari system was an integral part of the Mansabdari system, which developed under to the Akbar and under development. There is the most important here one content change during the design of the census. During the Akbar as a period, all the territory was broadly divided into the two, is a Khalisa and Zagir. The Khalsa and Zagir is the most important. There is revenue for the first went to a imperial teacher, and that from Zagir was assigned to Jagidar in the lands of their cash salary. And salary is a antiment of the Mansodar were calculated on the basis of their jet and the sovereign rank. Their salary was paid either to cash in the case of what is called Nakdi, or there is a through the assignment of Jagidar, the letter began to the preferable mood. In case their payment was made through the assessment of the Jagir, the office of the center Diwans would be identified. Paragon, the sum total of was Jama was equal to the salary claim of the Mansodars. In case of recorded to Jama was is excess of salary claim to the agents was the required to deposit to balance with the center treasurer, and only the other hand if VO was less than the salary claim to shortfall was paid from the treasurer. However, none of the assignment is a permanent or hereditary. The empire could shift part of the entire Jagir from one part of the imperial territory to another at any time. The ratio between Jagir and Khalisa is kept fluctuating during the Mughal rules. During to Akbar as a period, Khalisa was only 5% of total revenue. Under to the Jagir, it was 10%. Under the Shahjahan, it is a fluctuate between 9 to the 15%. In the later part of the Aurangzeb's reign, there was a great pressure on the Khalisa as the number of the claimant of Jagir increasing with the increasing in the number of the Mansodar. The Jagidar were is also transferred from one Jagir to another, but in the content case, they were is allowed to keep their Jagir in one locality for the longer period of time. The system of the transfer checked the Jagidar from developing local routes. Here the sometimes a disadvantage was that is a discourage the Jagidar from taking long term is a measure for the development of their area. There is a various type of Jagir. Tankha is a Jagir where is given to the less of salaries is a Masurat Jagir where is given on the content to the condition. The buttons Jagir were assigned to be a Jamidar as a Rajas in there is a local dominance. The Altamangha is a Jagir where is given to the Muslim noble in the family town or place to the birth. The Tankha Jagir where is a transferable is every 3 to the 4 years. Batana is a Jagir where is the heredity and is non-transferable. Ben to Jagidar was a made of Mansavdar. He was a gift to the Tankha is Jagir Apart from to the Vatam, there is a Jagir at the another is a place. If the salary of his rank was more than to the income from to the Vatam Jagir, the Jagidar were is allowed to collect only the authorities' revenue or the accordance with the empirical regulation. The Jagidar is an employer. There is a organ officially like a ML, etc. There is a empirical office and keep watch on the Jagidar. The Diwan of the Suba was supposed to prevent there is the operations of the peasant by the Jagidar. And there is a means was posted in each suba to see the Jagidar where is a following empirical regulation. And Fazadar is used to the help the Jagidars if we face any difficulty in the collection of revenue. That is the most important here. Next topic is the most important here, administrative structure under the Marathas. There is the most important here, administrative structure from the Marathas. The rise of the Marathas power was a significant phenomenon in this history of their Deccan. The administrative system of Marathas was very much influenced by their administrative system of the Mughals and the declining state. There is the most important. The first here, central administration. There is the most important here. The king was at the helm of the affair. The administration was divided into the 8 departments headed by the minister who are sometimes called is a Asta Pradhan. Asta Pradhan, there is the most important here. The 8 is a minors where to the Pesawa who is looked after the finance and general administration. And Saraya Nubat who was the Senapati. And Mazumadar is looked after the accounts. And Wakais Navib is looked after the intelligence and the post and household affair. And Sarvavis Chitanin is looked after his officially his correspondence. And Davir is looked after the foreign affair. And Nayanadis is looked after just and Pandit Roy is looked after the elastically affair. There is the most important here on the job for the Maratha period time. The Astapradhan was not a creation of Shivaji. Many of these officers like Pesava, Mazumdar, Wakai Navis, Davir and Suravazis is had to exit under to the declined rulers also. All the members of the Astapradhan except to the Pandit Roy and the Nayadis were to ask the lead to the military champion, and under Shivaji this is the office where is a neither inherited not a permanent. They held their office at the pleasure of the king. They were also frequently transferred. Each of the Asta Pradhan was assisted by the 8 assistant. The 8 assistant is the most important for Asta Pradhan. There is a Diwans, Mazumandar, Fadanis, Sabinis, and Khanias, and Chetanis, and Jamadars, and Potanis. It is the most important here to the under of control for the Asta Pradhan. And Chetanis is the dealt with all the diplomatics correspondence and wrote all the royal letter. And the Hadanis is used to the response to be letter of the commander of the forts. Therefore, Potanis is looked after the incomes and their expenditure of the royal treasure. The provisional and local administration under to the Marathas. The provisional administration was also organized on the Deccanese and the Mughal system. All the provisional unit were to the already exciting under to the is a Deccanese ruler. Shivaji recognized and is contained the case of the renamed them. And the is a provenance where to the is a knowledge as a prantas and their prantas were to under to the change of the Savedar. Subedar is the most important here, and over the number of Subedar is there where to the Sarabdar who to the control the is a surprise to the work of the Supridar, and there is a smaller than the Pran and where to the trough which is where to the headed by the Havaldar. And there is the Malzas is a village village, which is where to the lowest is a unit of administration. At the level of village is a kulkarni used to the keep account and the maintenance to the record will do Patel had a legal and the placing to the power at the level of Paragon and thus Pande used to the keep account and maintain to record will is a Desmukh had a legal and policing powers. The police is officer in a rural area was called to the Fazudar and in the urban area was called to the Kotawal. The Maratha is a politics and did not we have unified to the civilians come military rank. Under to the Maratha is a perform base of Brahmins, electors and naming is a managed there is a central bureaucracy and the local administration. That is the most important here. And in this capacity, they were is called to the Kambi Sadar, who is enjoyed to the wild power of the tax assignment and there is a collection and there is a adjudicate of the taxes is a provided information about the local condition and keep a record. Later on, there is a British districts collector was a nominal on this Maratha officer is only. There is a most important.